Hello. I always read the comments, and one of them, well, two of them were very interesting in the video I made about medicine and responsibility with regard to the Lucy Letby case. So I'm going to talk about that because these two different posts were very informative. The first one was from a doctor, and she said, I think she's retired now, but she said she spent many years as a doctor. I had no idea about the exhaustion that doctors suffer. Actually, I do, but that's another story. But yes, absolutely right. And you're just trying to do right by your patients, and you're being rushed from one place to the other. And yes, I know about that too. However, there's a problem with doctors. I'm going to give a couple of examples, and one of them is, I don't remember the names now, but I do remember it was Posey Parker, who put a big poster up outside a Labour conference in Manchester and immediately attracted the attention of a doctor, an NHS doctor, somebody who actually practices medicine, who was fighting the trans cause and made all sorts of trouble for Miss Parker, and said that there's no difference between men and women, and trans women, or I think, yeah, they're called trans women, aren't they, are just the same as real women. Sorry, he wouldn't say real women, are just as much women as Posey Parker is. That sort of thing. Now, that's an NHS doctor. And the reason I brought this person up is more doctors are involving themselves in politics now. The present doctors' strike, which the responder to my video said probably just involved signing, I'm with you type of document. That's right. But it was explicitly political. Several of the spokespeople have said that. So doctors are involving themselves in politics, and generally speaking, because of course they see people in the worst situation, they tend to think of themselves as on the left. But the fact is, they are not the only people who need help in this country. And the country needs other things apart from medical to keep going, like the army, the armed services. And governments, it's the government's job to divide out the money as best it can. But of course, when somebody is stuck, up to your elbows in somebody's guts, you're not thinking of the next aircraft carrier. And that's the problem. And that's why doctors shouldn't involve themselves in politics, because they have a very one-sided view of things for a very good reason, but that's it. Now, I mention doctors being in politics, going into politics, for this reason. We tend to ask doctors what to do all the time. We tend to give to doctors more respect than they deserve. Of course, we all respect doctors. I owe my life at least twice during my life. I owe it to doctors. So, of course, I'm going to feel pretty grateful. But in general life, that's the wrong attitude. Now, I'm going to play you a video now, which, and this is the other comment I got. This person sent me a video in which a doctor is talking about people coming to him or other doctors for advice. And in this particular case, it's the advice of whether I should let my son play football. In his case, he was referring to American football, which is very similar to the British game of rugby. So I'm going to talk about rugby so that it doesn't get confused with football. Rugby is dangerous, it's more dangerous than American football, actually. There are a lot of manoeuvres that really can do neck-crushing injuries and other things. And there's a lot less protective equipment. Okay, so somebody comes to a doctor and says, should I let my son play rugby? Now, you know what? One of my sons went to a school where rugby was a game that they played, and I did worry about him playing rugby. I really worried about it, but it didn't occur to me to go to the doctor about it. And this is what I'm talking about. We are asking doctors to make decisions for us that we should make for ourselves. And furthermore, we're asking the wrong questions. The question should not be to a doctor, can you tell me whether I can let my son play rugby? What you should be asking the doctor is, doctor, how long have you been practicing medicine? Okay, let's say 20 years. And then you say, how many times have you seen a patient who has been severely and permanently damaged by playing rugby? That's all you should ask. Now, if that doctor says, yeah, I've seen one very serious injury in 20 years, you make up your own mind about the odds there. But asking the doctor to make that decision for you is the same situation which I was fulminating about in my last video, in which one of the doctors at the Countess of Chester Hospital, or one of the specialists, rang up the hospital administrator, said there's something wrong here. Whenever this nurse is on duty, babies are dying. You know, whether it's accurate or not, whether he's right or not, this is what happened. He rang the hospital administrator. The hospital administrator said, there's nothing wrong, just get on with things. And the doctor said, do you take responsibility for that decision? And the administrator said, yes. And the administrator said yes, because she knew that whatever went wrong, she really wouldn't lose her job. So she wasn't really taking responsibility. But the doctor, having said that to her, then went back to work. He didn't go back to his colleagues and say, look, the administrator isn't with us, we're all out. No. And yeah, they could have lost their jobs on this. They could have got into terrible trouble. Well, that's their decision. But what he did was he said, well, she took responsibility, so yeah. That's it. We're in the clear. I know it's a very difficult situation he was in. And the others. But really, there comes a time when you have to take responsibility for a difficult situation. Now, here we have a situation. Well, I'll play you this video. So let's just get on with it.
I read an interesting article in the New England Journal of Parenting. Oh, I mean medicine. Did I say parenting? Well, that's what they're trying to pass themselves off. This is about whether or not pediatricians should give advice to parents of children who are thinking about playing American football. People are worried that if you play a career in the NFL, you may suffer from chronic brain damage or chronic traumatic encephalopathy or some type of damage from playing that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a career in the NFL. We're talking about what a pediatrician should tell the parent, in this case I think it was a father, of a 12-year-old boy who was thinking about playing American football. Somebody said he should advise him to play football, and somebody said they would advise against football. And of course, the right answer is to shut up about it, because the pediatrician does not actually have evidence for the relevant question, which is, should pediatricians, as a matter of practice, recommend football or not? They haven't even begun to collect the evidence for that. They haven't thought about all the possible externalities, and they're injecting themselves in a parenting decision. They're injecting themselves in something that's not really medicine. It's parenting. The train has derailed. And worse, the New England Journal of Medicine is covering this. See, I'm an old-fashioned doctor. I want to know about what drugs I should give people with heart failure. That's something they should be talking about in the journal. I don't see them talking about that. I don't see very much critical appraisal of medical devices and drugs. Instead, I see an increasing push to go beyond medicine and inject yourself in social and political issues.
Okay, so I'm going to chop that one up a bit. You're just going to get bits of it. And I'm leaving a link to the whole video in the description. Actually, while I'm talking about links in the description, I shall tell you I'm Grannyopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter and Gab. That's where I'll let you know when I've uploaded a new video. And all the links are in the description. Also, links to donation sites if you want to use them, but you know, the best thing you can really do is click that like button and share and subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, remember, check you are still subscribed. I've noticed I'm losing subscriptions very quickly in an unusual way, and my subscriptions on Rumble and BitChute, they're going up. So there's something odd going on here. Of course, people might be migrating, I don't know. Anyway, back to that doctor. What he was saying was that people are asking their doctors to be gods, to make decisions for them. And he's complaining about that, and he's right to complain about that. But we have a society now where people are doing this sort of thing all the time, passing the buck along to the next the next step in the chain of command. But this is not a society where there's a chain of command. This isn't the army. And too few people are actually thinking about responsibility of their own. Because we're all used to it. How many times have you heard a television interviewer or on radio or something interviewing an expert, and they're always referred to as experts? And at that point, we're supposed to shut our brains down. And then the interviewer says something like, well, how should we fix this? How should we deal with this? Or sometimes, so what you're saying is we should do X. How many times have you heard them do this? And how many times have you heard the experts say, with one or two notable exceptions, how many times have you heard them say, I don't know? This is something for a national discussion, or something like, well, there are various ways we might fix it, but I don't have enough general knowledge to be able to tell you for sure how to fix it. I am just telling you what the problem is. No, we expect our experts to be full of bluster and self-certainty, like, you know, Neil Ferguson, that's his name, isn't it? He was the epidemiologist who told the government to shut down the whole country. That's while he was getting his girlfriend over for a bit of nookie. But the rules didn't apply to him, did they? The point is, he expounded, and the government then just put the responsibility onto him. And he knew he wasn't going to pay for that responsibility. So there's a sort of circular thing going on here. We bow to experts, so-called experts, far too much. And unfortunately, that is coming from our media, who are bowing and scraping to these people. And we think, well, those guys, they're much cleverer than us, so they must know what they're talking about. This is something we have to think about a little bit. And as I say, when you go to a doctor asking, should I let my son play rugby? You shouldn't be saying that. You should be saying, doctor, in your experience, how many injuries have you seen from rugby? And then you go online and do a little bit of research of your own. Okay, well, yeah, that's answering two of the comments I was reading over the past day or so. Right, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Grannyopteryx design or Granbow with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.grannyopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.